There's some additional seats here if any of the ladies or anybody who has to have a seat needs to have a seat.
Mobility issues. Okay. We gather together today as a dear family and friends of Marcey LoVullo. As we mourn her loss, must also celebrate the rich life she led. Death has taken our beloved Marcey. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there's lamentation. In their tears there's loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Forgive them, O God, and be with them. For her love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship which we shared along life's path and still continues the tenderness of memory. The gifts of her heart and her mind which brought us joy and happiness, and now become a precious heritage of the Spirit. For all these and more, God, we give you our praise. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. God has given, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. An ancient people were well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave, and there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai Natan, God you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Proverbs 31. Eshet Chayil means sar, Hoknet mean mikra. A woman of valor who can find, she's more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity. She faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her family rise up and bless her. They sing her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you would sell them all. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and oh to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me. Your laugh once lifted me. Your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love what death has touched. She's achieved success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much. Who has gained the respect of intelligent men and the love of little children. Who has filled her niche and accomplished her task. Who has left the world better than she found it, whether by improved copy, a perfect poem, or a rescued soul. Who has never lacked appreciation for earth's beauty or failed to express it. Who has always looked for the best in others and given the best she had. Whose life was inspiration, whose memory a benediction. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, v'ina desha yar bitzeni, amei menachok yanachari. Please join me if you're familiar with the words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters, and restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Yeah. Just let us know if he wants to. The Baal Shem Tov, the Hasidic Rebbe, once observed that there are three ways we mourn. The first is with tears, the second is with silence, and the third is with song. When we mourn someone truly beloved, we experience all three. Tears at first, Then silence as our grief settles more deeply, and finally sung as we're able to celebrate the memories we hold deep in our hearts. So this is a time for tears as we say our final goodbyes to Marcey. We'll each remember Marcey in our own way. Craig, you remember Marcey as your beloved wife. Carly and Rahim, you will remember Marcey as your loving mother. Marcey was an adoring grandmother to Miles, and throughout her life, Marcey was a caring sister and sister-in-law to Lori and Robert, Jim and Lynn, Fern and Mitch, Amy, and Philip and Hank of blessed memory. Marcey was born here in Cleveland at Huron Road Hospital on August 13, 1951, to Adele and Bernard Epstein. She was the middle sister of her siblings, and later when Adele married Jerry, she gained 3 more siblings. They were all very close growing up. Marcey graduated from Heights High and then went to Ohio State in 1969 and studied home economics, graduating in 1974. Marcey worked as a salesperson on the road for a family business, M&S Candy and Tobacco. At the same time, Craig was working for Seaway Foods. They were calling on the same stores in Cleveland, and 2 store owners began pushing them to go out on a date. Finally, in May of 1988, Craig asked Marcey to go to the Cleveland, back then Indians, baseball game, and they hit it off and were married a year later, on May 20th, 1989. Marcey and Craig shared 34 wonderful years together, and they remained Guardians fans throughout. In September of 1995, they received Carly's picture and fell in love with her. They traveled to China and a week later returned to Cleveland with 6-month-old Carly on Friday, December 1st, 1995. I was privileged to be at the mikveh as a brand new rabbi in Cleveland on that cold December day when we took Carly for conversion. Your grandmother Adele always reminded me. She always said, you were there for my Carly. So I'm very touched I could be here today. Marcey created playgroups with other children adopted from China so that Carly would have that connection. Marcey got very involved, introducing Carly to many different activities. After trying many things, karate became Carly's favorite, and she excelled at it. Marcey was very supportive and got very involved. It also became a big part of her life. It was important to Marcey to instill Jewish values in Carly. Marcey and Craig sent Carly to Cleveland Hebrew schools and Camp Wise. They joined Kol Hadash in Solon, and Marcey made Carly practice whenever she went to her bat mitzvah meetings. Rabbi Mills said that Marcey made Carly the most prepared student. Marcey loved to go to services there. She was always very social and friendly and made friends easily with all the families. Carly remembers her family's fall excursions to pick apples at Eddie's fruit farm and carving pumpkins together. They took yearly family vacations to Craig's father's condo in Fort Myers, Florida. Family was so important to Marcey. She wanted Carly to be very close with all her cousins. So every Sunday when Carly was young, Marcey took her over to visit Philip and Justin. And then after the loss of Philip, they would go over to visit Amy, and Carly would help out with Ariel. It was so important for Marcey to maintain that relationship. Whenever the out-of-town family came in, Marcey made sure they spent time together. Marcey and Craig also enjoyed going to visit Fern and Mitch in Martha's Vineyard every year. Marcey treasured her siblings' group chat. Family was everything to her. Marcey liked to cook for the holidays, making matzo ball soup for Rosh Hashanah and schnitzel. She enjoyed gardening, growing flowers and tomatoes in her vegetable garden out back. In recent years, Marcey started playing mahjong with her cousin Patty, and she enjoyed going to the JCC for water aerobics and working with a trainer. Craig was always supportive of her different activities and interests. They were sports fans together. He told me, you should have heard her when Ohio State played Michigan. Marcey worked full-time in customer service at Pepperell Fuchs for 19 years. As soon as she retired, her mother got sick, so Marcey spent a lot of time taking care of Adele. Marcey was a very compassionate and selfless caretaker. She visited her mom at Menorah Park every other day, even when it was difficult for her to walk all the way to Adele's room. And Marcey cared for many others in the family. For over a year, she took turns with Craig, staying with his mother, Lou. Marcey also spent a few days a week visiting and caring for her Aunt Dorothy. She enjoyed talking about old times. Marcey was so happy when Miles was born just a month ago. She quickly went into grandmother mode and loved buying clothes for him. Harley wanted Marcey to come for a few weeks to help her out. That was the plan as soon as Marcey recovered. She wanted to live for Miles. The loss of Marcey is such a terrible shock for the entire family. And so today is a time for tears. We're saddened by the loss of Marcey. But we must remember what we learned from her, especially how to care for one another. Let these tears serve to strengthen and uphold you as a family. There's a story in our tradition about a rabbi who once asked a woman planting trees. "Woman," he called, "why are you planting those trees? You'll never live to see them blossom." But the woman replied, "My ancestors planted trees, not for themselves but for us, that we might enjoy their shade and their fruit, and to do the same for all those who come after me." Marcey planted an orchard for each one of us, an orchard filled with devotion and with love, and these will always be here for us. We must be grateful that we're able to share in Marcey's life. Tomorrow there'll be fewer tears, but more silence. As the Baal Shem Tov noted, it will be a time for pondering, a time for contemplation. Marcey will become a greater part of our characters and our very beings as we integrate the memories and the values she taught us into our own selves. But finally there'll come a time for song. The time will come when we can celebrate Marcey when we recall all that we learned from her and how she touched each of our lives. May she rest in peace. Zecher Tzadika Livracha. May the memory of Marcey LoVullo be a blessing. Let us all say Amen.
Amen.
Now let's invite Carly to come share some personal thoughts about her mother.
They say that after birth, new moms need mothering just as much as newborn babies do. And Mom, I really need you right now. We're currently in the trenches of the 4th trimester, and it's one of the hardest things that I've done. But you're always there for me to give me advice and answer my phone calls, provide encouragement, and ease all of my worries. You were so excited to be a grandma, so after your surgery, when I asked if you would stay with us in DC for a while, once you recovered, you didn't hesitate to say yes. I felt such a sense of relief and immediately started planning for you to come visit. I was so excited for Miles to get to spend some time with his grandma, and I could spend time with my mom and also try to get some rest. So when I got the phone call that you had passed, my response was, "No, she didn't. Are you sure?" Because I couldn't imagine my world without you. I'll miss singing badly in the car with you and binge watching TV shows, especially the reality ones. I'll miss us making plans to visit all of the restaurants that you text me about that you watch on diners, drive-ins, and dives. I'll miss how you would send me texts about all the little things that made you think of me that day, and I'll especially miss being able to pick up the phone to call you at any time just to talk. I've been listening to your voicemails that you would always start with, "Hi, it's your mother," just so I can hear your voice again. And out of instinct, I type your name first every time I take a new picture of Miles to send you. I'm so sad that you won't be able to watch me grow up or watch me grow into being a mom. But I'll make sure to share all of my memories with him, all of my memories of you with him, and I can only hope that I can instill in him the same values you live by. I'll tell him about your kindness and compassion that you showed everyone. I'll tell him about your strength and resilience as you overcame so many obstacles, especially in the last couple years. And I'll tell him about the selflessness you showed while taking care of others. And most importantly, I'll tell him about all of the love and support you showered us with up until the day that you passed. I'll be sure to give Miles a kiss for you every day. I love you, and I miss you very, very much.
Beautiful words. And now Bernie and Jim are going to come share some thoughts with their sister, and then cousin Lena will come forward to share some.
I can't follow Carly.
except to say, I know you want to call your mom, you can't call me. I'll be there. First I was going to read a poem, and then I thought that somebody else's words wouldn't be good enough for my beloved sister. So I just want to talk about, she had the biggest laugh I have ever heard. And I hope there are other Epsteins who can show me how to make that laugh and share that kind of joy. And she also had the biggest heart I've ever known. The rabbi talked for a second about how she visited our Aunt Dorothy. She didn't just visit, she visited regularly, on schedule, with presents. And when I would say, you are so kind to do that, she would say, the blessing is mine. Aunt Dorothy has the best stories. And if I don't spend these hours with her, I won't have them to pass on. And then when her mother-in-law was dying, she literally moved into that house and cared for her the same way she had cared for the child she had raised. The world has lost a wonderful, wonderful person, but I know she's talking to us, and I know what she's saying is take care of each other, love each other, always be kind, and also she's saying vote.
Thanks to everyone for being here today. As Fern said, Marcey had a huge laugh. She was a big personality. She had that incredibly big laugh, and it was very easily triggered. But she had an even bigger heart, which she let everyone know on pretty much a daily basis. She was as kind and generous and loyal as anyone I've ever known. Especially when it came to her family. Like our mom, she was quick to point out the best in people and to overlook the worst. She was a natural-born peacemaker who wasn't afraid to speak her mind. So when she was making peace, you better listen. Also, like our mom, she was perpetually thankful for whatever blessings came her way, big or small. And she was always thrilled and congratulatory at the blessings of others, which I thought was pretty remarkable. She was a true mensch. I'm so proud to have been her brother. I love her to the moon, and I'll miss her every day.
Thank you for your beautiful words.
Hi, Bruce Epstein. I know this happened on Saturday, and we were in shul on Monday, and we read this paragraph. I'm paraphrasing it. I thought it was a fitting words for this event today. For Marcey, the day allotted to each of us is not the same length in light and beauty. But whether our life is a long summery day or a shorter wintry afternoon, we know that inevitably there are storms and squalls which overcast even the bluest heaven, and there are sunlit rays which pierce the darkest autumn sky. The day that we are privileged to spend in the great park of life is not the same for all human beings, but there is enough beauty and joy and gaiety in the hours if we will but treasure them. And if I could just take a minute to share one quick story. I think everyone who knows Marcey well knows that she could have been she was a bit of a bull in a china shop sometimes. And there's a story that I always remember when, I think it was the summer of '72, her next door neighbor, Ricky Green, was going away for the summer, and they planted about a dozen or so marijuana plants, and asked Marcey to take care of the plants, till the soil, water, take care of them for the summer while he was away in Europe, wherever he was. And she did, and these plants grew beautifully. They were 12 feet tall out of that. You gotta put stakes in the ground to keep them up. And I don't know, it was 4th of July or Labor Day or whatever, and there was a party, a gathering at the home. And Uncle Abel Marcey decided, instead of leaving well enough alone, she goes out there and tends the plants while everyone's in the family room and in the backyard. She's monkeying with the plants and making them obvious. And Abel sees these plants and he goes, "Those are marijuana plants," or whatever. I'm sure Eileen, you'll remember the story, Robert, I'm sure. And you guys, of course. And next thing you know, the State Police were there, taking down the plants. And so much is for that. I don't know how she made up with Ricky in the summer when there were no plants and what he had to say about the police and his parents. I have no idea. I don't remember that part of the story. But that was one that I really wanted to share with you. Because there's sadness, but there's happy memories too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for your loving words. Birth is a beginning and death a destination. But life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and youth to age. From innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing. From foolishness to discretion and perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again. From health to sickness and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness. From loneliness to love. From joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see victory lies not some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage to life everlasting. If you're able, please rise now for El Malay Rachamim. El Malay Rachamim, Shochen Bamramim, Hamsei Minocha Nechona Taka Kanfei Hashkina, in Kiddushim B'Tehorim, Kazora Harakia Mazirina Ishmat, Isha HaTova Hazeh Shlacha La'olama, Baal HaRachamim Yasirechu B'Seter K'nefav La'olamim, V'Yitzror Yitzror HaChaim Ishmata, Nanaikuna Halata, V'Tanuach B'Shalom Amishkava V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence for our beloved Marcey LoVullo, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen. We'll pause for a moment as we lower the coffin. Earlier late, almost answer this summons to return to the source of being. We lose our hold on life when our time has come. As a leaf falls from the bough when its day is done. The deeds of the righteous enriches all as the fallen leaf enriches the soil beneath. The dust returns to the earth, but the spirit lives on with God. Like the stars by day, our beloved dead are not seen by mortal eyes, but they shine on forever, and theirs is eternal peace. Let us be thankful for the companion that continues in our hearts, in our minds, and with God. In the rising of the sun, and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind, the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for he is now part of us, as we remember.
David.
Just a moment, we place the earth in the coffin. The last act of devotion we will show to Marcy will be the first hand to cover the coffin, be hands of loving family. Frank and Marvin, we turn the shovel to the earth, we then pass along stars. Take a little bit of the earth. Yes. And you will take a rose home and press. Join in Kaddish, and if other people want to come forward after. Join in Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yirah yirutei v'yamlich mafutei, v'chayachon uv'yomechon u'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'bizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah torah le'olam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalel v'yitamal shemei kedusha barichu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbehata v'nechamata damiran v'yoma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'romav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us, and let us all say amen. Lech ki shalach Adonai, go your way, for God has called you. Lech v'nai yamach, go your way, and may God be with you. V'halach lefanecha sikecha kavod Adonai yaspecha. May your righteousness go before you. May the memory of your life ever be present in the hearts and minds of all those who have known you and loved you. And may the glory of God receive you. Amen. The family will be receiving visitors at Lori and Robert's home, 130 Blossom Lane in Orange Village, immediately after burial right now until 8 p.m. tonight, and tomorrow, Friday, 1 to 4 p.m. That concludes our